Okay, now I'm ready to push the button. Majo John Madden, they call me Juanito in Mexico, and I am sitting in a church courtyard on the edge of the little pueblo of El Diamante. I've been here 3 days this time, and I was here for 3 months 3 years ago. And my cue to tell stories is God will say to me, "You've got it queued up in your head, Jack. It's happening. Don't just ruminate about it. Capture it. Push the button and tell the story." I'm going to tell a story about a dog named Bear. And it's a story I've only told once into a video, never to a live person, because it's pretty traumatic. And it involves the loss of 2 precious dogs in the course of 3 days. And this all happened a couple of years ago near here. The signal that told me it was time to tell the story of Bear, at least, that's all I'm going to tackle today, and it's going to be maybe kind of lengthy, was this bench. It says Veracruz. I first encountered these benches maybe 100 miles from here in 23, and it happened after I had lost Bear and before I lost Magic. Bear, Magic, I had inherited Magic in the winter of 22 in New Orleans. He found me at the base of a swamp trail north of New Orleans. Came up to me in the dark. I was pitch dark. I had just come out from the trail, and something soft rubbed against my leg. And it turned out to be Magic, who was the best dog of my whole life. Unbelievably intelligent and loyal and courageous and athletic. Big part Basenji. You can look up Basenji. Basenji. Super expensive dog if he had been full bred. But he wasn't. But he was an awful lot Basenji. When the supermarkets, all the women would say, "Muy guapo," so handsome. So I had had Magic for probably a year. The first stop I made in Mexico after I crossed over on March 13th of 23 was the big city of Victoria up in the mountains. I traveled entirely the east coast along the Gulf of Mexico, but made 3 trips up into the mountains, and Victoria is the capital of Tamaulipas state. Quite a wonderful city. And my car was having a lot of trouble. I had an old camper van, 2000 Dodge Ram, lots of electrical problems, and it broke down there in Victoria. I ended up out on the outskirts in a little pueblo called La Libertad at the shop of a wonderful young man who was pretty brilliant with cars. And I spent 13 nights in his compound there where he and his dad worked on cars. And there was quite the coterie of old men that would hang out. It's like the barbershop movie. But the men of the town would hang out at the mechanic shop. And various dogs would gravitate to that place, but they were not particularly welcomed. They were tolerated. So there were 7 dogs who hung out there. The most recent and most dominant and most beautiful and biggest was named Bear. Big, dark brown dog, very athletic, very intelligent. None of the dogs had names. I gave them that name, Bear. And they all were hungry. They were barely fed, just enough to keep them alive. And none of them had names. The wife of the mechanic said to me, "We don't give them names because they get hit out on the road or they die of starvation. We've given up on trying to attach to them. They just hang out here." And they did not like Bear. When Bear would come around, they would often throw rocks at him. But I knew he seemed pretty special. And one night he was trying to get in the van. They were all trying to get in the van because they knew there was food there, and they knew that Magic, my dog, was eating better than they were eating. And after a lot of disciplining him to keep him out, I finally started to pet him, and oh, did he like that. That day, he had jumped on Magic and just kind of beat him up a little bit, just to establish dominance. The next day, because he was starting to like me, I started taking all those dogs for walks. Nobody ever did that. They'd lay around the compound and jump on each other. Just be nasty and bored and hungry and irritable. But I started taking them for long walks because it was at the foot of the Sierra Madre Oriental Eastern Mountains. And they'd all get so alive when they were walking. They all had some part of hunting dog in them, and they just started to function as a pack and have a blast. And on that walk the next day, Bear tried to make up to my Magic, just acted nice to him. And Magic showed a side of him I'd never seen because he's a super gentle dog. He just tore into Bear like, "Well, you think I forgot what you did yesterday?" And Bear just took it and said, "Okay, I deserve that. Can we be friends now?" And they became brothers. And they loved to hunt together. They both had, I thought it was just Basenjis that would do this. When they were hot on the trail or something, they would let out a crying sound. They were like so passionate, feeling so much, they would just yip, 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 yip. So when it was time to leave that compound, because my car was finally fixed, my heart was breaking. I wanted to take all those dogs with me, but especially Bear. And I inquired of my friend the mechanic, "Is there any danger that any of these dogs will follow me when I leave?" "No, the highway's busy out there. They're not going to want to do that." But Bear did. And I had already sussed out a place that I would go. It was just a quarter mile away. And when I took off, he followed me down the highway. Cars going 60, 70 miles an hour. He chased me. And I could see him out the rearview mirror, and my spot was just pretty close. He caught up with me. I said, "Okay, pal, you're part of the team now." And he became part of the team. And he and Magic were really like brothers. Magic had never had a relationship like that. And we spent a lot of time in a big state park there. Gorgeous Tamaulipas State Park. And those two guys would take off and run and have the time of their lives. I felt a little sad because Magic was always staying with me, and now he didn't need me as much, but it was great for him. From there we went to Tampico, very big city. And one night I was parking in the Walmart parking lot there, well off the road. But Bear was a street dog. He was an independent character. He didn't really want to be somebody's pet. He wanted to be with me, and he knew that I offered him a better life. But he hated the car. He'd lose his cookies the first few times in the car. Oh, he was pathetic how much he hated the car. And so one night when I went to walk with him, he couldn't get up. He had been hit out on the street during the night. I took him to a wonderful local vet, spectacular man, who wept when he showed me all the different wounds. He had been dragged quite a ways, and he thought he just had a broken paw. But over time I realized, no, he's got something much more serious. There's something with his hip. And he turned out to have a broken hip. And when I finally got x-rays from the local PetSmart, or Pet Depot, I think Pet Depot they have in Mexico, I went there and got the x-rays and showed him the x-rays, and he says, "Well, the bad news is, yeah, his hip is broken. The good news is it's showing signs of healing. He's going to heal." "Will he ever run again?" Because those two guys would run and play and knock each other down. They were so gorgeous. "I don't know if he'll ever run again, but he'll walk. He'll have some quality of life." Well, he didn't. He didn't regard it as quality of life. He hated the car. It didn't work out because I had to stay with him. Magic wanted to go run long ways. It was not working out. And progressively, Bear just resisted my lifting him into the car. Didn't want to go in the car, so he'd make himself dead weight. And he was like 70 pounds. And it was breaking my back. Then, on the edge of Tampico, there were 2 nights that I didn't get much sleep. One night we got run out of the Walmart and we couldn't sleep on the side of the road. The night before that, I had been parked on a beach that had terrible mosquitoes and I couldn't sleep until finally I wised up and went down closer to the water. So I was a wreck. And Bear just kept resisting getting in the car. At one point I drove a half a mile to see, okay, let's see if you want to stay with me. I went back and he was limping along. He wanted to come with me. But then finally we pulled off at a spot. Was that Poza Rica? That may have been Poza Rica where I changed buses coming down here. I bet it was. He wandered down to a little park building way off the road. I knew there was no way I was going to be able to carry him from there back to the car. And I was in the process of getting food for him. I was just going to leave him with a bunch of food and hope that somebody would find him. And it turned out when I came back with the food, there was a security guy there who said, "You're not supposed to be here. This is private." And I said, "Okay." And he also said, "This bear is a gorgeous dog. What a beautiful dog." So as I said, "I'm going to get a couple more things and I'll come back for him." And as I walked to the car, I thought, that guy will hopefully adopt him or see to it that he gets somewhere. I drove off, dumped him. That very much injured my relationship with Magic because he saw me abandon a dog and he had been abandoned himself. He never trusted me again after that. And it set up the end of my relationship with Magic, which I'm not going to tell her. My hand is shaking already. I can't believe I even told the story. Oh, the thing that made me push the button and said I could was a bunch of kids from the school over there. There's a school over there. They'd come up to the wall and they, just in the sweetest way, wanted to engage with the American. "Hi, where are you from?" in Spanish. "You like El Diamante? You like Mexico? Oh my God, that's so wonderful." They got super happy and then they got called back and had to go back to school and I was happy and I said, okay, let's tackle it. So it's told. Still not to a person. I keep telling my best buddy Tom Kilby, eventually I want you to listen to the whole story. I told it once at the back of a mechanic shop, 20-minute video, and I put a warning on that video saying, at the end of this video, you see an old man descend into absolute grief and chaos. I don't think anybody ever watched it, and I never watched it again myself. Okay, so be it. Thank you for what it's worth.